Okay, we're going to start 99. Even though my son did it, we're going to do it over again. It won't take long. Okay. Okay. Mishna Berura, page 99, Chav Zayin. Osios v'tevos shenimchu tzas. Whether its letters or words are slightly erased. I mean, later we'll see. If you take a look, today you don't see much. Years ago, very few people wrote new Sifrei Torah. Most of the Sifrei Torah were brought over from Europe. They were these heavy Sifrei Torah, and very often they were so. You had a shul on the Lower East Side which had 5 Aron Kodesh, because many chevras closed up, shuls closed up, and they would join one another, and they would move the Aron Kodesh into the new shul. It wasn't a built-in Aron Kodesh. So usually in the Ezra's Noshim, you could have 3 Aron Kodesh filled with Sifrei Torah. You could have 50, 60 Sifrei Torah in one shul. They never used them, and you could have Sifrei Torah 100, 150 years old. You would take it out once in a while. The letters over time turned reddish. They weren't even black any longer. The ink, through the it oxidized, turned red. Or the letter totally turned to like dust, but there was an imprint of the original letter on the parchment. That's called Rishum and Nikon. The imprint is still recognizable. It's like there's an imprint. Okay? So it's something very faint. Is that sufficient to be considered the letter still there, that to be able to freshen the letter, that it wouldn't be a problem of Kesidron? Right? That's what he's speaking about. Osis teves shenimchu ktsas im rishumon nikor. If the imprint is still recognizable, kol kach shetinuk lo chokim v'lo tipe shochel l'krosam, that a child, we discussed before, that he doesn't understand the context of the subject matter. All he understands, he only recognizes the letters. Mutar lavikumis aleim lehitiv aksav. You're permitted to take a quill and go over the letter to improve it. Ulechacho v'lo havish lo kesidron. That's not considered not in consecutive order. Okay. I mean, from the Mechaber, it seems to be Nimchu Kutzas, Rishum Nika means the Rishum, I'm not sure if it's just what I said. There's a faint impression left on the parchment. It's like a shadow of the original letter. Could be that's nothing, because it's not called the letter. Here, it says it's partially erased. That means the ink fell away, and you only have part of the letter, and there's enough of the letter which it resembles the original letter, that a child is able to identify it as that original letter. Okay, we'll see. Mishna Berura. Chav Zayin. Pirish Shoholach me ala osius ktsas mare hadio shalehem. That the letter itself had lost part of the color of the ink. The ink. What's the letter? What's the ink? The ink is black. Vim tchilas aksiv lo yadio shocher. Here, he says, let's say initially when he originally wrote it, the letter wasn't written with black ink. Ela domer lulovan shehucham ariso olodom. Let's say the person used inferior ink. It already was old, and when he wrote it, he applied it to the parchment. It was like dim, or it had like a reddish tinge to it.
When he originally wrote it?
The original writing. It's not. It became as a result of aging.
Well, would it be good then?
We'll see. No, I'm not saying it's good, but we're talking about Kesidron. Let's say he wrote the letter with ink, which the ink, even though the letter is recognizable, but that letter that's recognizable was never written halachically. So that's what he's saying. So that's Shlo Kesidron. That's what he said. Since the letter originally, if it's a remnant of a valid letter, so the question is, what's left? But if initially it was written because the ink itself was inferior ink and the color never was the correct color, it's not going to help you to freshen it with a quill with black ink, because it's like the first time you're writing the letter correctly. So therefore it would be considered Shlo Kesidron. Right? But our situation not Shlo Kesidron. Why? Whatever's left is sufficient. Let's say you wouldn't correct anything. What's left of the letter, because since the child reads it, we're only to prevent what's going to happen in the future, because if it should become more brittle, you're not going to have a letter. So now he wants to be able to correct it and freshen it and fill it out when it still identifies as the letter. What he's doing is that it shouldn't actually fade out totally. This is the point. That you have to have the original color of the ink. Because let's say, as I said, it turned red. It oxidized and it turned red. So the letter that's left is not a valid letter, even though it looks like that original letter. The letter actually fell off the surface of the cloth. It became brittle. And this is considered like the oxidation of the ink. It's reddish. It's like rust. It has like a rust color. It's like now writing the letter for the first time. Therefore, it would be considered not in consecutive order, because the letter that exists now is not a proper letter. He says, let's say the length of the vav. A vav could, if it's too short, it looks like a yud. So let's say, as it's elongated to look like a vav, that part fell off, and what's left beneath the black yud, you have this reddish extension, which extends. If you look at it, it reads like a vav. Because if you combine the top and the bottom, but factually what's on the bottom doesn't qualify as a letter.
The top is black, the bottom is red.
But the top is only the size of a yud. And where the leg originally was, that which caused it to be red as a vav, now is reddish. Has a reddish hue.
What is more important, the color or the shape of the letter?
Okay, if I take a bottle of black ink and pour it on a parchment, you're like, what's more important, the color or the... You have to have a letter. You have to have two things. A proper letter has to be formed with black ink.
Where you wrote in the reddish ink to begin with is not considered valid.
It's not always right.
So can you theoretically go over the entire thing, Kisidra?
Yeah. If you start from the beginning. Correct. 100%.
And you can theoretically outline the pencil if you want to.
Yeah.
And then write.
Right.
That.
Correct.
It would be a good way to.
Correct. 1 second. Nisha rak roshim achul de bosam tzrichen haros letinok im yesh bechel ke'elin shirvov. He says in that situation where the top, again, it's a question of how long is the black, the question, is it a yud or is it long enough to be seen as a vav? Because what's below that, although there is an imprint of the original, it has a reddish hue, so it doesn't qualify. So you have to show the upper part of the letter to a child. Does he read the upper part? So there, you know what you're going to have to cover the bottom. Because if you don't cover the bottom, the reddish part, the child's definitely going to read it as a vav. 1 second. Because the child looks at that, he's definitely read it as a vav, as you read it as a vav.
Why is the child?
No, we're talking about, it's a question if it's the yud is long enough to be read as a vav. We're not talking about the whole leg, where it's so short. It's questionable what's left of black, is that sufficiently long to be read as a vav. The das prim gorm da fil nisher ma moshes dio rak shniglaf shachru so elyon nisher odom. He says, let's say, have a shlok sidron. The odem ain't kosher litfilin. Avalach samsov bechel kirodei simin rishon polygolov the Soviet imashinu ladmumis umachmas yosher hareza kosher. Trei nichtav the dio. He's making a differentiation. Initially, the letter was written with ink, and as a result of age and oxidation, it turned red.
Written with the O.
So that red is still it's linked to the original because it was written. This is old black ink. That's interesting. When you talk about the halacha in Hilchos Nida, when we speak about a color of blood, which is considered menstrual blood, it says it's blue or yellow or all these other colors. green, it's a Mara Tor. It's not considered fluid. It's not considered menstrual blood. But if it's red or it has a hue of red, what about if it's black? Then it's considered diseased blood. Diseased blood is black. Here it's just the opposite. You start black and it goes to red when it oxidizes. Right? I'm just saying it's going in the opposite direction over here. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like the ink has deteriorated. Okay. The machine lamuhu machwas yosher rizekosher hu nichta bidio. Since originally it was written with proper coloring, lochi nemra halocha lichto bidio, ulohoros tzrichi rak likos bidio, kach darko shel dio. Yeah, it's not unusual when ink becomes old. Kshiyaskin yichem ariso, it's not as intense. V'yishapik tzas la damdam, v'nase kein mare shekorim b'loshen Ashkenaz broin, yeah, brown. No, that's what happens. Wait 1 second. Kol mokum tov laver kumas, because nevertheless the Chassam Sof says even though it's still kosher. He holds it's still kosher. Even a brown letter, the Chassam Sof, that's called black ink that's aged. We know that even if it's Yud Kei Vav Kei, and you want to freshen a letter Yud Kei Vav Kei, it's not called mochik. If you have a red letter and you want to put black over it, that's mechika. Because the red letter doesn't exist then, but this is enhancing the letter. Because brown and black is the same color. Because originally it was black and it's just aged. So the Chassam says, "Dein kam mechiko." Shaila la'alocha. Regarding Maris Nida, if you look at the examine, the cloth that women they internal examination. If it's brown, what is brown? Is brown the equivalent of black, and would be considered the color of blood, or is it not? So there are various different opinions. It depends if it's like a light coffee color. Depends how intense it is. Sometimes you could have like a brown, which is like, before we put milk in coffee. You look at it, it looks black, but if you put it to the light, to the side, through the refraction of the light, it has that, you see it's brown, very dark brown. Right, so is that black, or is that considered brown? Not black, which would be classified as blood or not blood. Shallah aloha. Always in there so years ago. Today, the world is one world, but years ago, like Moshe Feinstein said, they were much more lenient in America than in Eretz. They were very machmir regarding Maris, the various shades of the various examination cloths. They're much more machmir in Eretz than the United States. For instance, there's a halacha that if a woman has blood on big date sevonim, on a garment that's colored, if it's on a white garment, then it's considered, because there's nothing that distorts the color of the blood. What about if it's a colored garment? Let's say you have a garment that's a light blue, a light yellow, right? Do we say, because again, Maris Nagar only rabbinical. It's rabbinical. Because a woman's only need on Torah level only if she's actually menstruating, or she feels the uterus contract. Otherwise, the Maris is rabbinical. So so they said that since you're not able to identify the blood because it's a little distorted because it's on a colored garment, therefore, regardless, unless you see it's drenched in blood, but it's not a mare. So in the United States years ago, we held here that even if it's a light yellow, light colors, that's called big ditzavoni. In Eretz Yisrael they held that had to be like an intense dark color, and only then, because you're not really able to see the mara. But if you see on the light colored garment, although it's dyed, but since it's a light color, that's considered blood. That's considered mara dam, and that would be. And if it looks red, you rule chumrah that she's a nida.
It's not like it's a big thing, because the colors can be distorted. That's the other side argument. Right?
Exactly.
That sounds like you can't.
Why was it
Tell the color.
Why did it occur that way? Based on much more menstrual.
That's the way it was. I'm just telling you that's the way it was. It's interesting. Moshe Feinstein, Zech Tzaddik V'Rocha, he was in Eretz once. Dave, there's a good story to tell over once. And he went to attend Knesset Gedolah in the 60s. Rabbi Yoshiv never interrupted his learning for anything. But for some reason, he wanted to go to this Knesset Gedolah. They couldn't understand why. Because they found out later, because he communicated, he corresponded with Moshe. And he held Rav Moshe was the Posek Ador, was the final word in Halacha. And he wanted to see him so he should be able to say the bracha. That's the only reason why he wanted to see him. He wants to, Shecholok Chochmoso, that he endowed, right? He wanted to say that bracha. That's the reason why he wanted to go. I'm sorry, ask why we make them in America. We had people over here that even the ones in Eretz Yisrael held they were of that special status. Whether they agreed or disagreed, you want to be machmir, you can be machmir. But to esteem him and revere to that degree, and Rav Henkin, Zech Baruch Rav Moshe held he was his equivalent in halacha in terms of understanding, the grasp of halacha. To be continued.
Where was Rav
Henkin? Rav Henkin was the head of Ezra's Torah. He lived on Lower East Side, Rav Henkin. He was a posek. He came to the United States before Rav Moshe.
Is it more machmir to keep a possible Torah or to keep it kosher? I mean, is it more machmir to say you can't use it, or is there?
That's a quick thing. You should be machmir.
Which way is machmir?
Machmir is to passel it.
Machmir is to passel it, and not to keep the kedusha.
Sure,
Same level.
it's not. Kedusha has a. You have to bury it in either way, but you can't say a bracha. It's bracha levatola if it's possible. You can't say a bracha on the Torah. Right? You can't use it for Kriyas Torah because you have to have 7 aliyahs. 7 aliyahs without bracha is not an aliyah.
How long if you write it, you turn the bread like tomorrow, no good.
Right. It wasn't.
So is there a time?
He says kishe yaskin, whatever yaskin is, takes years probably for something to turn. Also turns. It depends on the condition. It's moist or hot, and no. Even what it's subject to, where it's lying, something could prematurely age, based on the condition, the climate condition. Somebody told me, he was in Japan during the Korean War, and he had tefillin, or he was in Korea itself. The moisture over there is to the degree that unless you actually insulate the tefillin, and almost the tefillin, they become warped very quickly. That's how much moisture there is, and the whole climate over there. And the parshas, everything became possible. It has to be insulated, and that's after they took them, they had to put them in some insulated, almost airtight. Who? They're more supple. It's a more supple hide. Could be. Okay.